Evening, First Church. I'm currently studying the book of Job, and my overall train of thought was that Job really truly experienced unfair circumstances. And most people who are not familiar with the story of Job would think that his suffering must be the result of his sin. Even his friends assume that. In Job 1:1, we learn that Job was blameless and he was upright. He feared God and he shunned evil. Certainly, his suffering was not the result of the sin that he committed against God. By all accounts, he was a good man, and God favored him. Often in life, it's the righteous who suffer and the wicked who prosper. Now, I personally experienced suffering in different phases of my life, and at times I felt like I was being punished for no reason. Retributive justice, it's a theory that punishment is just for when a person breaks the law, and justice requires that he or she suffer in return. It also requires the response to a crime is proportionate to the offense that was committed. Prevention of future crime or rehabilitation is generally perceived as the purpose of punishment. Now, in this particular case, Job did nothing wrong. Satan was given control over Job's life to test his faithfulness. Satan believed that Job would curse God if he took everything away from him. Job was put through several trials, but in the end, he became frustrated with his friends and not God. He said in plain terms that he would rather debate the matter with God than with them. Job eventually gained everything back, and in fact, some of his possessions were doubled. Now, suffering happens, and some experience more than others do. It's one of the age-old questions is why do bad things happen to good people? And that's something we've talked about numerous times, numerous Bible studies or topics, whether it be in youth group or church itself, and we've heard many sermons on it. And quite honestly, I don't have a suitable answer to that question. However, I believe that the aim is that our faith might be refined, that our holiness might be enlarged, our souls might be saved, and our God might be glorified. Suffering is easier to deal with when it's somebody else's problem. We typically don't fully understand it until we experience the same thing in our own life. We're good at giving advice for certain things when somebody's suffering, but when we experience it ourselves, sometimes we can maintain or we can fall apart. Now, God may have allowed Job to suffer to indicate that not all suffering comes directly from our sins. You remember, sin entered the world through Adam and Eve, so we feel its effects during the unpredicted events that befall on us, which we didn't even play a direct role in. Not one person on this earth is free from sin. Now, I believe John Greenleaf Whittier, in his poem Barclay of Uri, kind of sums it up the best. He kind of explains a little bit about the emotions and feelings of this, where he says, hard to feel the stranger scoff, hard the old friends falling off, hard to learn forgiving, but the Lord his own rewards, and his love with theirs accords, warm and fresh and living. Through this dark and stormy night, faith beholds a feeble light. Up in the blackness streaking, knowing God's own time is best, in patient hope I rest for the full day breaking. Now, whatever you're going through in your life right now, I can tell you that God has your back. Whether you feel it or not, God is with you. And even myself, when I went through the 7 members of my family passing away in 2 years, it took me a lot to look up and say, God, I need your help on whatever's going on in my life right now, because sometimes we feel like we can control it all, which we can't. So I hope whatever's going on in your life right now, throughout this COVID-19 scare, or if it's personal issues going on or health issues that happened before, remember God's always got your back. And he's got your back no matter where you are. So look at yourself right now and say, I'm not being punished by God, and maybe ask yourself, what is he trying to teach me through this lesson I'm going through? Which is much easier said than done. But God does love you. Take care, and God bless.